All right. I think we are good to go now. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. So I wanted to go live tonight and I'm by myself, which is why we were having technical difficulties. But I wanted to make sure that we talked about a couple of things because there's just no way that today was the day that it was. There's no way that we are living in the United States of America, emphasis on united. Like there is no way. And hopefully my team is paying attention and can get all your questions because I definitely want to go through some of that with y'all. So let's first talk about what was popping today. All right. So we had the president of the United States, and Lord knows I'd give anything for just a normal person, a non-evil person, a person with a conscience, a person with some sort of competence, a person with some coof, a person with anything other than what we have. I think would be better at this point in time. It is absolutely ridiculous. So here it is. You have former servicemen and women in some way that decided to do a video because they are very concerned about how evil this man is and the fact that everyone surrounding him has decided that they're okay with him being evil so long as the evil doesn't hit them. Okay. So he decides that because these people who are continuing to serve this country in the form of being elected either US House members or US senators, he decided to say basically, like, hang them, like death to them. A sitting US president said this. Now, you say anything near it on the internet, in a joke, anything in a text message, let me tell you, somebody's gonna be at your front door tracking you down to do something to you. And I just don't understand why we continue to lower the standard. I mean, like, I don't even understand how much lower you can go. Like, literally, we are all in hell with him right now. That's how I feel. Like, I legitimately feel that way. And speaking of flames, we had a fire today at the Capitol, too. That was a lot. Yeah. One of our trains caught fire. I don't know if, somebody trying to send up a smoke signal. Somebody is trying to warn us. The question is whether or not we are listening. So in addition to this hate, and mind you, I know y'all remember how people were acting when it came to the fact that Charlie Kirk was killed, and like all the Democrats immediately came out, were like, hey, like political violence should be denounced. Period, point blank. Don't really care if you agree, disagree, whatever, but like it should never get to the point that someone is openly calling for the killing of somebody, nor that someone participates in the killing of somebody because they disagree. We did that. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, and my staff is watching, but I don't recall not one Republican saying anything today about the president. I don't recall them saying, Mr. President, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe you should not do that. No one should have to say that to the president, but that's where we are. In addition to this political hate for those on the opposite side of him, we know that now they want to reclassify swastikas and nooses. They really not that bad. They really not that bad. Y'all are just, being dramatic. They're not that bad. I guess they're not that bad when you don't know history. I guess they're not that bad when you remove history. I guess they're not that bad when I guess you want to appease white supremacists in this country, which I have been saying over and over and over and over. And the only thing that MAGA can say is that I'm a racist or I'm race baiting, and they don't even know what it means to bait anything because that's a little bit of, but anyway, whole other issue. But the point is, like, they get mad when you call a thing, and I will continue to call things because I'm not crazy and I'm not blind, and I understand what it is when you tell people that there were good people on both sides. When you talk about Charlottesville, I understand when you say things like Proud Boys stand back and stand by. I understand that over 1,000 people were convicted when it came down to January 6th, and so many of them were neo-Nazis and Aryan Brotherhood and all of these various race-hating groups, these white supremacist groups, right? And next thing you know, they're going to be declared to be the soccer moms under this administration. That's what they going to do. They not even going, honestly, they're about to outlaw the idea of white supremacy and white hate. Like, they are about to be like, oh, that's not a thing. Forget the fact that you're talking about getting rid of like the classification for nooses in a time in which we have seen these random Black bodies be strung up down south. Also, seemingly at a time in which you're back in office, because what you do is you embolden the hate. You embolden everybody to take off their hoods. That is what he has done. He is the one that is producing this violence. Listen, in this country, what makes this country what it is that you can have disagreements and you don't go to jail, or you don't get lynched, or you don't get persecuted. Like, that's what you were supposed to have in America. He doesn't want America. He is constantly kissing the ass of everybody that does everything that is anti-democratic. Baby, you need to go be a ruler somewhere else, because America was not built for this, okay? And it's, clear that at least some of America is waking up. I sincerely hope and pray that the rest of America wakes up sooner rather than later. Okay, so speaking about the white supremacists, y'all, because that's what they are. They're actually like white losers, but that's a whole other issue. Because anybody that feels like they need to go around and talk about why they quote unquote are supreme, yeah, this is why they don't like the word equality and they don't like the word equity, because they are threatened by it. And well, we've seen their version of greatness. I mean, y'all mark my words, but Comey is gonna get off. Like, and the bad part is Democrats don't even like Comey like that. Like, we don't mess with you. We feel like the only reason we were ever subjected to Donald Trump in the first place was because of Comey. Like, we absolutely believe that he is the catalyst for getting us into this mess in the first place. We could have just put this man to rest and not had him win any election if Comey had not done what Comey did. And that was at a time in which everybody wanted to say it's the emails. The emails. Y'all gonna talk about the bombs he dropping? Yeah, the emails. Y'all gonna talk about him being all up and through the nasty Epstein files? No, y'all was still so mad about the emails. We ain't gonna talk about the Saudi prince. We ain't gonna talk about the stealing of American taxpayer dollars. We're not gonna talk about the destruction of our economy. We're not gonna talk about you tearing down the daggone East Wing. We are going to talk about, y'all was real upset. I need y'all to have that Hillary email energy right now. All the MAGA that had all the energy and all the smoke for the emails, they probably ain't even understand what the point was, because y'all ain't even have no smoke for the signal leaks. The signal leaks, y'all might have no smoke for that. None. But I'm gonna need y'all to find your Hillary email energy and smoke, and I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and apply it accordingly, or at least find your Nixon. Find your Nixon energy. We need the Nixon Republicans to step forward, please. Please. Please, because Watergate, what Nixon is rolling over in his grave right now, talking about why in the hell did I ever leave? Listen, America believes in corruption, because if you've seen Donald Trump, baby, that was child's play what Nixon was up to. That is exactly what that means. Okay, but back to the white supremacists. Today, in my office, or he didn't get in my office, but there was a white power supremacist individual flashing white supremacist signs outside of my office at the Capitol. Thank you, Capitol Police, for all you do. I hate that y'all still ain't got your check yet. I just found that out, but I hear it's on the way. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Because you know what, the whole KKK can decide that they're going to have a meeting right outside my door. And guess what? It's not going to change me being who I am. I just want to be clear about that. So you can save your time, save your energy, and potentially save your bail money and stay your raggedy racist ass at home. Don't come for me unless I send for you. Got it? Okay. I'm glad we got that PSA out the way. This also happens to be on the day that, yeah, all of this is interrelated. So don't tell me he ain't racist, and don't tell me that he doesn't stoke racism in this country. All right. So we also need to talk about, oh yes, the way that like it's, they get mad when I say it, but it's got to be a mental illness because I don't really understand. So if I got some psychiatrists on here, y'all help me out. And granted, as a licensed attorney, you could literally lose your bar card if you had a client, especially in the criminal world. If you had a client who exhibited any type of anything that would make you believe, I'll say it this way, that they may have a mental health something, right? Disorder, crisis, emergency, whatever. We were trained to look for signs, and then obviously you make a recommendation and you get that person evaluated by an actual doctor who is trained to do that work. And then that doctor determines various things. There's various things that you're looking for depending on kind of what's going on. Okay. So I'm just going to say this. I truly believe, based upon how so many people in this cult are acting, that there's a mental health crisis of some sort. There's something, but I'm gonna need the experts to weigh in. So here it is. MAGA has decided that they are most upset about the fact that Epstein was sending text messages to his member of Congress. That not that she was engaged in this stuff, not that she got the birthday letter, not that she got all these racy photos, not that literally like her name is mentioned not even a fraction of the amount of times that Trump's name is mentioned, not that she ever tried to hide the files. In fact, she signed the discharge petition and she voted for the release of the files, unlike Donald Trump. Not that she was going around trying to threaten people and tell them, hey, you know what, if you decide that you are going to sign off on this, then I'm gonna have that smoke for you, right? Like, she wasn't tossing threats around or whatever, because I'm sorry, but like, we don't have ethical like rules that say that you can't receive text messages or you can't respond to text messages, especially if somebody has a certain record and you can't do it in committee. We all be sitting on our phones, and yes, people be texting. I mean, our staff text us, like everybody texts us, like people. I remember when I had the bleach blonde situation, you know who was texting me? My pastor. Okay. So like, let me be clear. There is no ethical violation. And so the idea or the audacity to decide that you want to strip a Black woman of her committee assignment because she was texting with Epstein, but you don't even want to dig into the nitty gritty about what the president of the United States was up to. That's where we are? Okay. So, on top of everything, what I decided to do was when they decided that they were bringing this privilege motion. So, mind you, it took forever for us to get the discharge petition on the floor, or the actual bill that was the subject of the discharge petition on the floor, because normal bills have to go through a lot of things. You either have to get the speaker to put it on the floor or a discharge petition. But then you got these other things that you can kind of wiggle through. We call them privilege motions. And so when you are trying to censure, because it used to be something that carried weight, now it's just, I don't like you, and so I'm going to censor you. Or I want to distract from the real issue because we losing right now, right? Then you can bring a privilege motion and that can come up immediately. All right. So they brought this privilege motion, and unfortunately, The Republicans had more smoke for Stacey getting a text message, which they knew if we sent it to ethics, that ethics would not do anything because there was no ethical violation. But they decided that they wanted to have their time on the microphone and be in front of the cameras. Mind you, the very next day, when a Republican brought a privilege motion, Nancy Mace, against another Republican for domestic violence allegations, for allegations of maybe doing governmental contracts and and sitting on a committee of jurisdiction in which he is getting government contracts from that same kind of area, as well as having a restraining order on him. I don't remember if in all that reading she put in there about him not paying his DC rent that's like over $10,000 a month for his DC apartment, his work apartment. Yes. So Nancy Mace goes against Corey Mills. And if y'all Google Corey Mills, you will see all the tea. They decide that they don't want to debate it. They just went ahead and sent that into ethics. And he most likely is going to have some issues because there's going to be some ethical issues for sure, because it's a little bit more than text messaging. So they decided that they wanted to come out, they wanted to talk mess or whatever. We ended up having to do this on the spot, basically. And so MAGA is so scared. And baby, MAGA, listen up, MAGA. Listen, okay? Because y'all are worried about the wrong thing. Y'all need to be worried about the fact that like everybody losing jobs and the economy is shit. And like, yeah. And our enemies are somehow now our friends, and our friends are going to become our enemies. Like we got real issues, but y'all love to listen to right-wing media. So I get up and I wanted to make a point. And I think I made that point. Now, whether or not it went over certain people's heads, because like maybe I get too deep sometimes, but what we're not going to do is start kicking people off committees because of who it is that donated to them. And so, yes, anybody can go to fec.gov. You can look. And yes, I did not lie whatsoever. So get over it. I'm still better than y'all. You know why? Because y'all go out and intentionally lie to people, like saying, you know what? Don't believe your lying eyes that there was an insurrection on January 6th. Don't believe your lying eyes that prices are higher. Don't believe your lying pocketbook that prices are higher. Don't believe the fact that you don't have a job and like the job market is really tight and we have less jobs available than we do bodies to work right now. Like they want you to never believe what's what, but like, yeah, Lee Zeldin admitted he received a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what I said. It is what it is. Now, whether or not it was that same one, we didn't have time to do all that. But the point is, let me tell y'all what the point is for the people in the back that are really slow. You don't kick people off of committees because they've received a donation at some point in time in history from somebody that has, say, a conviction. Do we want to go down and look at how many times Rudy Giuliani then donated to some of these people? I got a whole list. I mean, do we want to talk about the people that the president is actually letting out of prison right now? How many of them are sex offenders and all that good stuff? Do we want to talk about that? Do we want to talk about how many of those billionaires have donated to the Republicans and need to be kicked off their... That is the point for the slow people. That is the point. We don't kick people off of committees for something like that. That is absolutely ridiculous. You can say what you want to say. And listen, ultimately, if people don't get reelected because the people that elected them fell away because maybe they took a donation from a certain, then fine, so be it. All of this is a matter of public record. It's a matter of public record. So long as we do like we're supposed to and file our reports, and we file our reports. And if there's an issue, just know that we don't have a quorum at the FEC right now. You know why? Because Donnie Boy went and got rid of all of them, so that anybody that wants to break the FEC laws can. We don't have a quorum. Yeah. Tells you where their priorities are. They just want to defund and break everything. All right, so let me make sure I covered everything for y'all, and then I will get to your questions because the Era did already put some up. Yes. Okay. So the final thing that I'll say, and I'll see what Sierra has put up, is y'all can stop asking me if I'm running for Senate. I promise you, I don't know. I really don't know. I couldn't talk about this on the other side. Y'all were asking me, but we're on the campaign side right now. So I am being perfectly honest with you. Our poll is in the field. Our poll is not being done the traditional way. Our poll is being done the way that I think we would need it to be done to know whether or not we can actually win. And I am supposed to get the polling results on tomorrow. At the latest, I'm supposed to get them on Monday. So if you are in Texas and you get asked them, answer the questions and be honest about how you feel. But this is going to be a really, really tough decision for me. I'm going to be perfectly honest with y'all. I don't take it lightly. And this decision isn't about me. A lot of people talk about the primary poll, and yes, you got to get through the primary to get to the general. I want to be clear with y'all that I want whomever has a chance at actually flipping the seat to be the one. So even if the polling says that person is like not the strongest in our primary, then I think everybody else should back out and give that person space. That's what I honestly believe. I don't think that we can afford to be selfish in this moment, especially like, what's the consolation prize for losing? I mean, what you get? Like, you get to say one time I was a nominee. I mean, like, that's not how I roll, right? And I am a data-driven / vibes type person. So it's vibes that led me to deciding whether or not I should seek the data to confirm what I'm getting on vibes. And as someone who traveled the country, the entire country, on behalf of both President Biden as well as VP Harris when she was the Democratic nominee, as someone who is still consistently asked to be everywhere, as I just did 4 events in one day in Michigan, and no, it's not a presidential cycle. As I am being asked to go any and everywhere, deep south and otherwise. And for those of you in Tennessee, make sure if you're anywhere near that special election that's coming up at the very beginning of December, make sure you go out and vote. Early voting has already started. I am all over California, Pennsylvania, Virginia, you name it. I am all over. It is that energy and that belief that I can somehow make a difference when I show up that makes me believe if I can make a difference in other places, why is it that I would not be effective or making a difference in my home state of Texas? That is my belief. That's the vibes. But y'all know I like receipts, even if y'all don't like what the receipts say. So I've got to have data, and I have been very transparent. I plan to share with the other 2 candidates that are running. If that data reveals that, say, one of the other 2 candidates has the ability to expand the electorate in a way that I just don't, it is my intent to get behind that candidate and support them through the primary as well as the general. It is my intent that I will work my hind parts off to get that person elected. I am here to tell you that we can't get the things that we want in this country unless we change the Senate. When we look at the fact that we're in this quote unquote arms race around redistricting, the House passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act as well as the Freedom to Vote Act. They passed it, but it went nowhere in the Senate. We also can get reproductive access passed out of the House. It still would not go anywhere in the Senate. We have to get more than what we have. We've got to flip it. And that is the only way that we're going to get anywhere. If we're going to get any reforms on this Supreme Court, whether it's just getting them a rule of ethics, which I think is beyond basic, since every other judge in this country, no matter the level they're on, has a rule of ethics that they have to abide by. We can't get anything unless we transform the Senate, which means we got to change the map. It can't just be, well, we know California is going to have 2 blue ones. Well, we know Maryland's going to. No, we've got to do what we did in Georgia. We got 2 blue ones down there. We can do it in Texas. I know the numbers. I know that is why they are constantly passing voter restrictions. That's constantly why they are going after people of color, and they are trying to minimize their voices because they know our power. I know we can get it done, but we've not done it yet. So the only thing that I can think of is what can engage people that have never wanted to be engaged before in the state of Texas. And if it's not me, that's cool. Like I'm good. I feel confident that Texas 30 wants me to return as their congresswoman. I'm not tripping. Like, actually, I may be tripping, but that's just about coming back to all the hell that we're dealing with. But like, no, I feel absolutely confident. I love my district, and my district loves me. And so I'm good. Like, it's not like I have, and to be clear, you don't get paid no more money by going to the Senate. You just have a lot more responsibility. I go from 766,000 people that I'm responsible for to 30 million. My pay doesn't change. I still have to come to DC. What changes is the map. I need y'all to understand that if we get a candidate that is actually formidable, do y'all understand that changes everything for the Republicans? Do y'all understand that those 40 electoral votes that they count on to come out of Texas so that they can get the presidency, that's off the table? Do y'all get that, like, this running around from this state to this state to this state, all these small states? If they don't get Texas, it doesn't matter. There's no math that maths for them. This is something that they realize, and they've been playing everybody else in this country, pretending as if we don't have it. When Donald Trump won the state of Texas before, he won by 5 points. 5. That's not overwhelming. When Beto lost to Cruz in a clapback year, which is what I'll call it, right? Because Donald Trump had been president. It was the midterm year. Again, Beto lost by less than 3 points. Beto lost by less than 300,000 votes in a state of 30 million. So for me, I think pretty much the generic Democrat can get pretty darn close if it's Ken Paxton. I think so. The question is, what can that Democrat do to get the people that feel like no party represents them? To get the people that feel like nobody speaks for me? I personally believe that that's the difference. So, sorry I took so long. Got that out. I'm going to get to your questions so y'all can get back to y'all's lives, because it's late depending on where you are. We already at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. And I know people got to go to work. So, let me see. All right. Will the Republicans do anything about Trump? They have been trying to censor people all week. Child, listen. I think we're at a record for censors. I really do. Like, y'all, somebody on the internet, y'all can go Google this and figure it out. But I don't know that we've ever had 3 censor motions in 1 week. We usually don't have 3 in a year. Like, it was very rare. Yeah. And that's where we are. Do I think that the Republicans are going to do anything about him? It just depends. I think the more that they see the writing on the walls, as we go through these special elections, as we look at the numbers, I think November 4th was a wake-up call. I think that's one of the reasons that some of them are like, maybe not so much, because baby, he on his way out, whether he like it or not. You get 2 terms maximum as president in these United States, okay? And some of them want to stick around for a while. Some of them want to have political careers. And it's going to crash and burn if your only answer is to do whatever Donald Trump told you to do. It is. That's not sustainable, like whatsoever. And I think some people are waking up to that. But I think, the more that people show up to their town halls, the more that we show up at all these other elections and overperform, I think the more likely it is that we start to see some movement. From TikTok, when will the Epstein files come out? Okay, so y'all know I don't trust Pam, right? Y'all know I don't trust her, right? So I'm gonna just say that's $1,000,000 question. I will tell you that according to the bill that was filed and signed into law, they are supposed to release it within 30 days. I just want to remind y'all that oversight has had outstanding subpoenas to the DOJ, and thanks to the Epstein estate, we getting stuff. That's all I gotta say. So, and Pam she was stuttering the other day at a press conference. I think it was yesterday. She was like, right. So I fully anticipate she's going to say we've got ongoing investigations, even though she had previously announced that there was nothing to investigate. But now she's like, well, we've got new information from the estate. And it's like, well, girl, if y'all were doing your jobs and you were doing the investigatory work, then y'all would have had this too, right? Or am I wrong? Maybe Pam don't know nothing about trying cases. Again, she about to lose that Comey case. Hell, they lost the sandwich case, y'all. They lost the sandwich assault case. The fact that they brought a sandwich assault case is just okay, I'm done with that part. Let me move to the next question. From IG, can you run again in your current district? Yes. I don't know if there's more to this question. So let me expound just to make sure that I'm actually answering your question. So a couple of things. Filing deadline in Texas is going to be December 8th. We have the earliest primary. I think it's Texas and Arkansas only. Will be the first Tuesday in March. We'll start early voting February. Mail-in ballots will go out in January. And so if you're in Texas, for sure, make sure you do your ballot by mail application on January 1. You got to do it all the time. They making y'all read again obstacles, okay? Because if you had an excuse because you were disabled last year, you probably got the same anyway. Whole other issue, but make sure January 1, you can go online. You should be able to go to the Secretary of State's website, or you can go to your county, whoever handles your elections in your county, because it may be different depending on your county. But go to your elections administrator for your county, and you can download the form and you can mail that form in. I believe you actually have the option of faxing it in too, but I don't trust a lot of these people. So I say mail it in and make sure you request a return receipt so that there's no questions about whether or not you sent it in. But yeah, do your ballot by mail applications. So there's an interesting law that says you can run for the U.S. Senate as well as president at the same time on the same ballot. I am not able to run for the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate at the same time. So if I run for the U.S. Senate, then that means that it's all or nothing. I either come back to D.C. as a U.S. Senator or I'm not back in D.C. That's what that would mean. And I think that that's probably the hardest part for my district. I was in a similar situation when I went from the state house to the U.S. House because I was in a 6-way race to get to the Texas House. I made it in, and then I had to jump into a 10-way race. And so there definitely were constituents that were very concerned because they really did like me as their state representative, but they really did want me as like their U.S. representative, but they were concerned. But we made it. We made it through. But it is one of the reasons that I'm being highly analytical on this run, as well as understanding what it would take, like what the entire ecosystem needs to look like. So thinking through not only building a team for myself, but like what else needs to be going on in general, right? Like how much voter registration do we need to do, and like what organizations do that, and like that kind of stuff. So like just thinking through all the things. I will tell you that one of the things that I find interesting, and we're going to see in the polling, because we're going to test some of this. We literally are testing the fact that the president calls me low IQ and trying to see how that hits people. um, I know y'all like, what? Yeah, because he says it over and over and over. So I don't know if he has polling that says that if he calls me that jazzes up MAGA, or if it makes conservatives as a whole believe that I'm uneducated. It's one of those things that honestly, I do feel like they feel a little bit inferior sometimes, because um, I display my legal prowess a lot of times in committee. And it is threatening for so many of them, which is why it's like, they all like, it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. And it's like, okay, first of all, I named a whole bunch of people, and NRCC ain't came out yet and said nothing, but I'm just saying, but that's a whole other issue. So, again, I've got to think long and hard, because I can tell you for sure my district doesn't want to lose me. And frankly, there are a lot of people out of my district that are scared of losing my voice in this moment. So we have to believe that we have a real path to victory. And a victory in Texas, again, is bigger than Texas. It means that we've changed not only the landscape for the Senate, but we've changed the landscape for the country. I mean, it's huge. Winning anywhere is obviously a big deal, but winning in Texas, yeah, it's a big thing. Okay, let me move on. From TikTok, it said from TikTok. Do you think the Epstein files will be tampered with? All right, so I'm not a believer in the keepers of the files right now. I'm not. I don't believe in them. I will tell you that there are those. I've never worked at the DOJ. I've always been on the defense side. So I don't know like their mechanisms from an internal perspective. There are people that are trying to convince me that have worked within the DOJ that there are very limited opportunities or options to destroy things now. I also know that we are living in some really different times. And I also know that we had this bootleg computer, you know, tyrant that was playing around with all our stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, once Elon started touching stuff, I just don't know. That is, I'm gonna say I don't know. I will say that people are trying to convince me that, what's there will be there. That's my answer. And from Instagram, how do you protect your peace and stay encouraged? Oh, this is a very good question. Thank you, whoever asked that. I appreciate that. People don't ask about that, and I get it, and it's okay, because I signed up for this insane job, and I am insanely blessed. Let me be clear, because I do feel like it is a privilege to represent people and have their confidence. But I go through my days, like I'm being completely honest. I go through my days, and I think it's one of those reasons that I'm pretty fearless about the U.S. Senate. It's because I truly believe that what God has for me, it is for me. And if it's his will that I will win, obviously I got to do the work, but I believe that I will. I protect my peace by knowing that literally I am not supposed to be here. When you look at who it is that gets into the seats and the spaces that I'm currently in, it's not the girl whose parents weren't politicos or super rich or whatever. It is people who had political families and dynasties, or people that had a lot of money, and or people that worked and interned on the Hill and all that kind of stuff. I didn't do any of that. I had not done any of it at all. um so I feel like I am only here by God's grace, and because literally this is the purpose that he has on my life. And when I tell you, it is so very hard. um I am more protective and more concerned about people around me than I am myself. I'm gonna be honest. So my staff is young. They are. Most staffers on the Hill are. And I love them like they're my family. Like, I mean, in private settings, I call them my kids, right? Because if I had kids, a number of them are young enough to where I could be their mother. But the point is, I look at them and I love them and I want to protect them. And so, when they came and worked, decided that they would work in our office, they did that because they believed in something bigger and greater than them, and they wanted to be of service. And they're not out front. They are not the face of this. For me, it's like, all right, I got to take whatever hits I take. But today was a bit gut wrenching for me because I don't ever want my kids to be subjected to the type of like hate that physically showed up today at our office. That's what like pisses me off. Um because they didn't sign up for that. They just signed up to do the work of the people in Texas 30, whether it's filing legislation, handling cases, or whether it is answering phones, right? So, or doing comms, or whatever it is that they all do. Um, so I typically get my recharge really from the people. I do a lot on the road, as Faux News was reporting. They could just Google Jasmine Crockett, LA, and they'll find out I was working on Prop 50 so that people could lose their seats, but a whole other issue. Um, so when I go on the road though, and I'll give you one example so that, I'm not on live forever because my staff talks about me when I do these like long lives. I went to Chicago and we were having the field hearing, the ICE field hearing. We have another ICE field hearing coming up in LA. So I'll be at that. But we have this field hearing. And when I go, especially to like a big city like Chicago, there's usually like a pileup of requests in the larger cities. And so what my like scheduling team does is they're like, all right, so you're going for this, but you also have already had this request, that request, this request, whatever. So I had a request to speak at a church. And I thought I was doing like a town hall situation or whatever. Anyway, it was all me, just me. They were like, come whatever day you want to. And it was amazing. They packed this church out. There was not any seats anywhere. I mean, the balcony was packed, all the pews in front of me, beside me, as well as the overflow was full. And the preacher at that church, told me, he was like, people were lined up for hours before, it was wrapped around the building. But what was most impactful to me was afterwards I had an opportunity to speak to a couple of people that were there that are really close friends of the church. And one was a 15-year-old girl who couldn't stop crying. And she literally just kind of fell into my arms. And her dad was standing there and he was like beaming with pride. And I was like, it's okay. I'm here. I'm real. Like, talk to me. Like, what's up? And she was just like, I can't believe I'm meeting you. And I was like, I'm just an everyday person. But but her dad is a civil rights lawyer. And he was like, I never imagined that it would be a politician that would influence my daughter to want to follow in her footsteps as an attorney, right? But this 15-year-old girl who cannot vote, who somehow I am on her radar, she lives in Chicago, Illinois, was so moved. It's those moments that I hold on to. Or when I'm on the flights and I have flight attendants, I have all these notes. I'm trying to get my staff to I don't know, put it all together so that we can keep it. But they'll write me notes and it'll say thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. We love you, that kind of stuff. And so when I get outside of the bubble of DC, which can really be a drag, when I get to the real people, like when I go to Houston, because I'll be headed to Houston and I'll be doing an event on Saturday if you're in Houston, Texas. I'm gonna do an event with Christian Menifee because we've got to get him to Congress, CD 18. So we're gonna do a town hall. So you can sign up, get that information. It's somewhere on my profile as well. And then I am gonna do something for the Texas Democratic Party as well. I'm gonna do their gala. So the thing is, when I get around the people and people not only tell me but show me that what I'm doing is not falling on deaf ears, that's when I am reaffirmed. But when I am in DC, I'm just like, what's the point? Sometimes it can get really bad. So I'll say final point on this is that my very close friends, my day ones, as I call them, they are always looking out for me. Them and I will say my praying circle. For any of y'all who did not know, my pastor is Pastor Freddie Haynes, who is always on call for me. God bless him having to be my pastor. But he always answers my calls. And I have to say that there are so many others that are always answering my calls, whether it's Pastor Bryant, whether it's Bishop Jackson, whether it's Bishop Vashti. I am just grateful. And then a little bit closer to the house, there are members who always check on me. One actually just texted me a minute ago. It's never about the business of it. They're always just kind of checking in to see how I'm doing mentally and trying to figure out if there's an escape that they can create for me, even if it's just in the form of a girls' night where we can sit around and chat and let our hair down and not be stressed, because I have more eyes on me than most anybody in the Congress. And sadly enough, I got more haters than seemingly the whole president of the United States, right? But if you ain't doing nothing, they ain't got nothing to hate on. All right, so we're going to end this in a second. Oh, okay. That was the last one, the Sierra type. That's probably Sierra telling me to get off. Anyway, I just want to say thank y'all so much for your questions. Thank you for tuning in. Keep the faith. We can do this. We have the power. I absolutely will let y'all know, but December 8th is the day. And let me just be fully transparent on this part too. So supposed to get the polling between tomorrow and Monday at the latest. That means at the latest, I get it Thanksgiving week. I'll actually be with my family because I need my family on board, obviously, over the holiday, as well as just kind of my inner political advisory circle. We are going to kind of play out all the things. And then if we decide that we're running, there's a lot that has to be done to kind of get up and to be able to launch. So it can't be I got my results, I talked to everybody, we're running tomorrow. We'd have to actually pull some stuff together to actually launch. So, and we'll have a really, really short window. So when I tell you that I don't know, I am telling the truth. But I have put a deadline on myself to make a decision by Thanksgiving. I plan to make my decision by, let me say, Thanksgiving-ish, okay? Because, maybe not necessarily on Thanksgiving. And then I'm still not telling nobody till December 8th. but I should know. I should know by Thanksgiving, but I'm not telling until the last day of filing, so that I can maximize the amount of time that my team would need to get things going if that is the decision that I am running. So I love y'all. I appreciate you, and everyone have a really good and great night.